Hello and welcome back to the 15th episode of the Veganless podcast. Today we have the Breaking Point guys with us. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Want to start it,
Uh,
Mike?
sure. I'm Mike Mansell, one of the co-owners of the Breaking Point.
And my name is Brennan Nadine. I am the other co-owner here at the Breaking Point.
There we go. Got them both in here.
Yeah.
So I always like to start these out with what's one piece of advice you'd give a new hunter, and I'll let you each take your own jab at that.
I would say my advice for a new hunter, especially a young hunter, is to try and harvest what you get the first opportunity of harvesting, whether it be a button buck or a year and a half old buck or a doe. I think just from my personal hunting experience growing up, you grow a lot more by just getting some kills under your belt, getting experience. So then when you do get that opportunity at hopefully a big buck someday, you at least have a little bit of a resume under your belt to give you the confidence to make, good quality shots, and just to know what to do in those situations. I feel like that was just looking back on some of the mistakes I made growing up as a hunter when I was young, getting into archery especially. Tried holding out for, 2-year-old, 3-year-old plus deer. And then when the time came, I just wasn't able to perform in those situations. And I didn't shoot my first whitetail with a bow until I was probably, I want to say 18. I started hunting when I was 12. I was able to get a couple turkeys under my belt and actually went out west and shot some antelope before that, but just went through a lot of failures hunting whitetails, especially just because I didn't take opportunities that I should have early in my bow hunting career.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I would say for new hunters or for seasoned hunters, have fun with it. At the end of the day, we're doing this sport or hobby or whatever you want to call it because it's fun. Never lose sight of that. Have fun with it no matter where you're at or who you're hunting with. Just keep it fun, and that's why we do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, just piggybacking off of both of those, I think it's super important to just really, you're only competing with yourself. Like, quit competing with all of these YouTube channels or people on social media that are posting, 180, 200 inch, whatever caliber of deer. Like, you're your only competition. If it makes you happy, harvest it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
You, Andrew, you have another piece of advice?
Really and truly, I'm with Brandon. Just have fun with it. Don't take it too. I don't want to say don't take it too serious, but like you said, if you're young and getting into it, get some kills under your belt, like Michael said.
The one and only Alone Bowhunter Chronicles says, Brennan is the shit. Met him at the Ohio show. He signed the back of my buck. Sorry, Mike, I didn't see you there.
I wasn't at that show.
I
remember
Mike
signing
a warning that you were going to be there, so that's why he didn't go. But yeah, that buck's a nice one.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, so we went over some new hunter advice. Let's, I guess, kind of segue into what are you guys doing in your off season? So I know you guys turkey hunt and all of that, but when deer season ends, what's that mean for you guys? What do you do to prepare for the next season?
I'll let you just keep going first, Mike, and then I'll follow up.
Like for me right now, with turkey season kind of wrapping up here a couple weeks ago, just cameras out now. In Iowa, got a couple cameras out on some second hunt. I went out in like May, farms I can hunt, and May, that was May last year. With the drought we had, there was literally no water on this farm. So I thought like I would have a pretty big advantage. It's a lush alfalfa field primarily. There's a little bit of timber strip on it, but thought having some water nearby would really up our chances on getting some bucks early season hitting that and getting good pictures in the summer. So I put that out. I still need to. I was lucky to get with the rain we had, it actually has filled it up probably a third way. But it's not quite full enough yet where I think the deer are comfortable using it because they got to really put their head far in there to get in there to get water right now. So I'm actually going to be going out here later this week. I bought an IBC tote and I'm going to be filling that up, freshening up some more mineral sites, spraying food plots. Got some blinds, cage blinds to put out here in the next couple of weeks. Let those soak, and then once July hits, it'll probably be full blown doing food plots, velvet scouting.
Have you guys done any
Nice.
spring food plot work yet?
I have not. Yeah. I mean, I really haven't. I mean, back in Wisconsin where I grew up, we'll do some corn or soybean plots, clover. But we've had a really wet spring up there, so pretty much all the food plots they're not planted at all yet.
Once deer season ends for me, we do the trade shows, which is pretty much the entire month of March. We do Iowa, then we went to Minnesota for the first time this year, and then we do Ohio and finish in Wisconsin. We actually added a new one to the list this year. Actually, in July, we're going to be in Oshkosh, Wisconsin for Deer Fest. So that pretty much takes up my entire March, and then I try to mix in the shed hunting when I can. And then that kind of rolls right into turkey season, which just ended. Like Mike mentioned, we turkey hunt pretty much from the beginning of April until the end of May, and now it's kind of deer mode, I guess. I don't do a ton of stuff in the woods in the summer. I get poison ivy really bad. I'm also allergic to bees. So I try to do all my stand work and all that stuff kind of in between, right towards the tail end of shed hunting and before turkey season starts. I try to go out, check all my stands, just checking straps, making sure everything's good, and pretty much have all that stuff taken care of. I don't have the luxury of planting food plots on any of the farms that I currently have access to. So I don't get into that as much, but I help some of the guys, when needed as far as planting goes, but that's still, coming later in July, early into August. I will get some cameras out. I put a couple water holes in this year, on a couple new farms, and I just got permission here a couple days ago on another new farm. So I want to get a couple water holes installed there, maybe establish some mineral sites. But that's about it for me as far as summer work goes. And obviously shooting my bow every chance I get. I slack big time. As soon as deer season's done, I pretty much don't even touch my bow until after turkey season. And this week I just started finally shooting. I've been trying to shoot 15 to 20 arrows a day, just kind of build up that strength again and get used to shooting. I'm in a new house. Dating a girl, and I no longer have a yard to shoot in at the moment. So I'm in the laundry room shooting 5 yards across the room, but I'm really just shooting to build my strength up right now.
Weight,
Yeah.
Something's better than nothing.
Yeah, makes sense for sure. And you guys have mentioned permission pieces. Do you guys mainly permission hunt, or do you have private, or do you public hunt too?
It's a good mix. Kind of all over. Several states, it's a mix of public and private. Always trying to get on more private land, whether it's making phone calls, sending letters, knocking on doors. Always trying to gain more permission, but we do hunt on public land too in about every state that we go to.
Now, I bet a lot of people that will listen to this would probably have the same question, or kind of, I guess, general curiosity. Do you have any tips for getting permission?
Persistence.
Yeah.
Don't. You're gonna get told no. Quite often, I would say 90+% of the time, people are gonna say no, but when you get a yes, it's worth all the no's. So stay persistent. Don't be afraid to be told no.
Worst they're gonna say is no.
Exactly, and you're right.
Truly, I mean, really and truly. Yeah, worst they're gonna say is no, and you're like, well, at least I tried. So.
And little things like offering to help them on their farm and stuff too can go a long way.
Yeah. One piece of advice I would give is to try and stay away from the obvious places where people are going to be hunting and asking permission. I mean, you guys know when you drive down a road, you see a piece that just looks primo hunting, and there's stands all around it. Like, obviously, the chances of you getting on a piece like that is going to be slim and none. So
that's leased or used by them or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know here in Iowa, at least, leased land is, getting more and more and more popular and really kind of closet the permission land and all that. So
Hmm.
I know that's a frequent thing that I get asked in here is, do you have any advice for asking people? And it's like, just be courteous and
Yeah.
don't be afraid, I guess.
Yeah.
I always say don't wear I don't know, at least in my opinion, don't wear camo. Just kind of like go in some normal dress clothes just because it seems like you're coming off just to talk, I feel like the second someone sees you coming in camo, they're kind of like, oh, I already know what this person's here for. But
Yep.
I
Camo's
mean,
more expensive than my dress clothes, man.
mine's been the best in my work yellow shirt and roll up in the work truck. And
Mhm.
they're like, who's this guy? And then I'm like, hey.
I think the time of the year too really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Be different.
Don't go 2 weeks before season and be like, hey, I'm gonna start knocking on doors. Like, you should be doing that right now. You should have been doing it in spring,
Yep.
or even like, I think, we've had luck getting on permission pieces. If you go and maybe you start getting just turkey hunting permission and building a relationship with the landowner and working up from there, or getting permission to go shed hunting on their farm. And then after they get to know you a little bit, and it's a little easier for them to say, yeah, that's fine to go deer hunting on your property, but don't go swinging for the fences always. A lot of times it can be a process of just building that relationship with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're a liability the second you walk on their land, so being able to be personable and build some sort of relationship is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a normal season look like for you guys? You hunt multiple states and stuff. How many different places do you usually go in a year?
That really varies from year to year, I would say, with tag availability. But like for myself, an average year right now looks like hunting Iowa, Wisconsin, North Dakota, and then potentially another state if an opportunity came about. I used to hunt a lot more states, but it seemed like I just got more stressed out and more spread thin throughout the year, that it almost got to the point where I wasn't enjoying the season as much. So I've actually like enjoyed a lot more having a few less tags in my pocket in November, and then just like really just enjoying your time in the tree and not feeling like you got 2 tags burning a hole in your pocket and you got to hurry up and get to Kansas, or you got to hurry up and go to a different state. I would say 3 to 4 states a year for me.
I'm pretty similar. North Dakota, and we always start the year in North Dakota. And if we still have tags in our pocket, we like to end the year there too. Typically, second half of December, early part of January, right before the season closes. And then Iowa, obviously for archery and one of the gun seasons. I kind of jump back and forth on which one I've hunted. I've hunted first shotgun, second shotgun, late muzzleloader. It kind of all depends on weather. This year I might actually take a stab at the early muzzleloader season if the weather hits right. We'll see. And then I drew a tag in Kansas this year. It'll be my, I think, 4th time hunting in Kansas. We just hunt public land there. Kind of just hang and bang, jump around on pieces of public and try to run into something good. And then I'm in the process of trying to lock some stuff in Oklahoma right now. I'm hoping that comes together. So I'd be hunting there too. So that's kind of my plan for this fall.
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, for me, hunting Iowa, obviously. And then I drew South Dakota tag to go chase down a mule deer this fall. So be doing
Nice.
that. And then where I hunt is like, I don't know, like 20 minutes from Missouri. So if I fill my tags, I can always get a non-resident Missouri tag and dip down there and hunt too.
Nice.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of I scouted some public land in Missouri. I forgot to mention that, but that was another state I'm looking to potentially hunt this year, just because I'm only like an hour and 20 minutes from the border. So it's close enough where you could buzz down for an half a day hunt, or a full day hunt.
Oh, then urban season. Forgot that.
Yeah.
It's coming up soon.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna actually dabble in the urban, in a different urban area than you guys, but I'm gonna try to see what that's all about this year. So
Yeah,
try to get another Iowa tag.
We
Yeah.
weren't gonna invite you to our town, so
I'm not gonna drive that far.
I think I convinced them after last year.
Nice.
it's like
Well,
why
I
not?
just think about with the urban thing. I just think about the 2 or 3 days I'm home here and there. It'd be nice to go out and just zap some does or whatever.
Mhm.
Try to shoot
Yeah.
some deer. You can
For
never
sure.
have too much confidence because with our season, like say every year, yeah, I'm gonna shoot some does, but you never do because you always end up hunting these spots where you want to kill this certain deer and you don't want to stink the
I don't
place
want to
up, so
blow
you
it.
never end
Yeah.
up shooting does. And I'm
Yeah,
like, screw it
exactly.
this year. I'm just gonna pile does up, on those 2 or 3 day stretches when I'm at home. I'm just gonna go out
And
and shoot deer.
for
Yeah.
that matter, urban season starts almost a month earlier too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
go
It
out
does.
there and do that. Drew knows exactly where I hunt right now. Like
Yeah.
literally, it's a block or two from my house. It's
Yeah.
easy. I hop in the truck and drive a minute, and
Yep.
I'm in a tree a few minutes later.
I know where
But yeah,
Drew
that's
hunts too.
Yeah,
What?
that's the
chill.
main reason why I
Yeah.
wanted to do it is like for confidence building, like
Mhm.
shooting more deer. Because,
Get out,
like I
practice,
said,
and fill the freezer.
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
the main draw to it. I mean, to shoot a big deer eventually down the road would be sweet, but just to shoot deer and stay fresh on it, I guess.
Mhm.
I
Like you
enjoyed it
said.
so much last year though because it's just like a
Mhm.
total change of pace being in a tree, and when you're like encouraged to shoot every antlerless deer that walks by you,
Yes.
compared to you're holding out for a specific deer or a specific caliber of deer. It's just like I love shooting. I'm very trigger happy. I love shooting deer. So like urban is just a dream for me. Like green light almost 50% of the time.
Yeah.
If you don't take one, they'll be like, why not? Why didn't you do that? Like,
Kind of like Brendan said though, like if you got places you're chasing big bucks for your statewide tag, I'm not shooting does off my land. Like go into the urban spot and start slaughtering up some does. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. Shoot a couple does, and the next day I still see good bucks out running around. I'm like,
yeah.
well, it didn't change nothing around here. So
Maybe the wind shit today or something, and you don't want to go blow up your spot. Just roll into
yeah,
urban, and
Yep.
I mean, they're used to. I mean, it's not as easy as some people think, but it's just a different world. They're
Mhm.
more timid to people around, but
Yeah, I
it's
like
funny
it
because
too.
it's a
they'll
nice.
be timid or they won't like notice people walking by. But I swear, there's times you'll be in a tree and like catch one, 100 yards downwind, and she just starts throwing
Yeah.
a fit. You're like, what?
Yeah, I kept having
Yeah.
them hang at like 80 yards this season. I'm like, come on, a little closer. I don't have a sight tape set up right now.
They definitely know that like distance. Like they don't. I feel like I've bumped a few deer hunting urban, and like they don't bump as hard as like a deer,
Mhm.
hunting anywhere else. But they go just far enough away to where they know they're safe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're used to the presence, but like you said, they know like their distance and all that fun stuff. So yeah, they'll just dip out just out of range and send you back for a loop. So one thing I always try doing, transitioning to our next point here, is we're used to seeing the perfect world, end results on YouTube and stuff of, we may have went hunting 2 weeks straight before we had this 20 minutes, of success, but the end view, like the viewer just sees, the highlight reel essentially. So do you guys have any hunting fail stories?
I'll let you start burning.
I mean, yeah, tons of them. I mean, where do you even begin on?
Just last year, you could write a novel almost.
Yeah, I mean, last year wasn't the worst year I've ever had either. I mean, 2015 is at the top of the list for the shittiest year I've ever had. And on that specific year, I botched a shot on Halloween. I botched a shot on November 17th, and I botched a shot on November 15th, and all three of them were really big bucks. The first one was the biggest deer I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna screw up. That's hunting. That's what keeps you coming back, especially archery hunting. I mean, if you're gonna get on here and say that you've never failed or made a mistake, like you're full of shit. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah,
because it happens.
I've been pretty fortunate the last few years, but actually, my first year I drew in Iowa, that 2016, that was probably one of the worst seasons I've had bow hunting. Yeah, I went through a little bit of a roller coaster hunting down here. But yeah.
What about you, Drew? We know you have some fails.
No, I'm like the perfect bow hunter, honestly. So, there's been a couple I know of. I had a couple last year. I mean, I still was fortunate enough to get a good urban buck, but there was a couple. There was a nice 8 in there that I probably should have had, but I went in playing a risky wind and sure as shit looked out in the binos and there he was downwind of me, and I mean turned around, rolled right out more or less. So and then another time too, just like in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Buddy, another guy in the urban spot that I know, he'd send me a trail picture and be like, "Were you sitting over here this morning?" I was like, "Nope, I just on the opposite side of the property more or less," and just kind of playing more, like I said, stupid wins. So
Yeah, I would say my fun one would be this last season during shotgun season. I decided to go and I scooped up a 350 Legend, and being in a time crunch, didn't feel like grabbing a scope. So I took it off of my 308, went sighted it and stuff, didn't think anything of it. And up in a saddle, and we have this pretty decent buck kind of skirt behind. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. There was no shot like opportunity at that point, but I knew where he's gonna go bed. So I'm like, if we don't see anything in like an hour, like let's go down on foot. I know exactly where he's gonna be. And didn't see anything, climbed down the tree, kind of spot and stalk the field edge. He ends up being in like the weirdest little spot. He's probably like 40 yards closer than he should have been, and on kind of the opposite side of the ditch for the wind, and bumped him. He gets up, runs. I set up for the shot, and I cannot get this deer in frame. I had the scope on 16 times magnification instead of like 4, so you just couldn't even fit him in it, and he just hauled ass. And I'm like, if I'm not confident, I'm not going to take a shot. Like, I'm always making sure it's ethical if I do it. And he runs and he stops right behind a tree. I'm like, cool, there we go. That's my stupidity. So that was a fun little fail.
I've
Ended up
definitely done
eating
that
tag
plenty.
soup for shotgun.
I've definitely done that plenty of times where I'm like zooming with my scope in. Like if I see something in the woods, I'll like scope it. I zoom in, and then all of a sudden a deer pops up,
Forget
and I
it.
forget to
Yeah.
zoom it back out.
Yeah, man,
Done
I
that
just saw
plenty of
like his
times.
ass in the frame. I'm like, I can't move this fast. Like, yeah, it didn't work out for me. And I got punished the rest of shotgun season for it because it's like a weekend deal basically, or
Yeah.
2 weekends, whatever. And just gunshots galore around, like all the patterns out the window. Ended up trying some public hunting down there. Literally walked 8 miles on public, didn't see a single deer. Saw signs and stuff, and then was walking back to the truck and I had like a yearling doe like cross in front. That was the only deer I saw there, and like it just went to hell. I'm like, I'm getting punished for this dumb mistake. So that's I guess a fun fail story. What's your guys' favorite hunting story though?
My favorite would probably be any buck I've shot back on our home property, like any of my big bucks that I had a few years of history with. You build a pretty good story with them. They just where I grew up hunting, it was never really known for producing big caliber deer. When I first started hunting 20 years ago or whatever. So like to shoot a big deer around there now, it's just a lot more special, just seeing where, what we've done to the farm for the last 20, 25 years.
For me, I don't really have a specific hunt. My dad passed away a couple years ago, so obviously the hunts I had with him mean quite a bit. And some of the other hunts that stand out are the one buck I killed in Iowa a couple years ago. Like Mike mentioned, anytime you build history with a deer, and I essentially had that deer on camera from 2.5 until when I shot him at 8.5, and a lot of history. And another one that jumps out is North Dakota. I don't remember what year it was, but it was the year after I ate a tag out there. And when Mike and I started hunting out there, we would go out there damn near every weekend. We would, burn the midnight oil, get off work, drive out there, hunt for 2 days, drive home, do it again the next Friday. And there was one year, it was 18 trips between punching tags, and I shot one in sub-zero temperature, and that one was pretty sweet.
There we go. What about you?
Kind of right there, probably with my dad when I shot I call it my technical first buck. I have a different first buck I call, but it's technically my first buck, little fork horn. Actually had a little bit of velvet left on him too. Shot him with, a 20 gauge, but just went down south. We'd always pull the camper down and go with my uncle. And my uncle and my dad, I think, got into the whiskey a little hard one night and, woke up. My uncle's like, it was some of the land he leased we hunted. And he's like, you guys go, I'm going to sleep in. I don't feel very well is what he said. But we went out, sat up against some hay bales just on like a clover field, more or less. And sitting there, deer came in and I kind of whispered to my dad, I was like, I'm going to shoot this. I think it's a buck, and no response out of him. I kind of peeked over there, hey, I'm going to shoot this deer. Like, you ready? All of a sudden, boom, shoot him. I look over, he jumps up. He was asleep against the hay bale. That was next to me. And, what the hell's going on? And I shot that deer and it goes running off. And we ended up having to shoot it again one more time. But still just kills me every time to think back of that story because, he was dead asleep. And, how would you like to be woke up by a gunshot 5 feet away? So not knowing it.
Right.
So.
After probably feeling rough from the night before.
Yeah, I think he was definitely feeling it as well too. So
yeah, I would say definitely between my opening day buck last year and then taking my son out hunting. He's kind of at the age where he's interested but not quite ready to do it himself. So I'm like, how about we meet in the middle and you just kind of go out with me and see if we can get something. And he came out, we threw up a ground blind on the plot, and naturally the slowest 2 days I've had out there. I'm like, great, like trying to get the kid interested, and we're just gonna see jack shit. Had like a buck come out, but I had filled my tag opening day. This was last year, so I was strictly antlerless tag. And day one, I'm like, buddy, you can like play on your phone, switch, take a nap, whatever, and I can wake you up, And he says, no, I left all that in the truck because I'm here to help you. Like, I'm here for this. I'm like, okay, whatever, man, cool. And then, like he made it through the day. Naturally, like I said, didn't really see crap. And then day two, it was like 8 a.m. He said, how much longer are we going to be out here? I'm like, quite a while, buddy. And then, we had doe walk out, harvested it, and he was pumped and such. And that was a fun memory, I guess, taking him and doing that. And then that was like morning hunt. And then I went right back out in the evening with my buddy, Robbie, and we harvested a doe for him too. So 2 in 1 day at the same farm. It was fun.
Nice.
Cool.
So we obviously all hunt and, fill our freezers. Do you guys have any favorite recipes and stuff you like making?
I don't know. I love to cook, so there's quite a few. We actually tonight we just had turkey cranberry quesadillas.
That sounds...
We did. There's a lot. It's tough to pick one that jumps out right now. What would you say, Brendan?
I wouldn't say I have any favorites, but you can use venison for about anything, especially if you grind it up in a burger. Tacos. I like to make like loaded nachos. Obviously summer sausage, steaks, all that good stuff. But I would say if I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say nachos.
We've been doing a lot of with our ground venison too, into like breakfast sausage, because we're big into like making eggs and like potatoes and stuff like that for breakfast, and then we'll make it for like a few days, and then we just have that to go with it.
Are you guys more of a turkey or deer guy? Like, what do you? If you had to pick between the two, which would
I like them both, but with turkeys being so small, they never last.
For sure.
Like we only shoot, a handful of birds or a half a dozen birds a year, and it seems like by the end of June or maybe July, the turkey's gone for the year. It's like a It's almost like morel season.
Mhm.
Yeah,
True. You bet.
especially if you like have a bunch of people over and you fry one up or something.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't take long to eat a couple of breasts.
Oh yeah, no, goes real quick. Love to do the little nuggets. Just figured that out this year. I've only had a handful. I've only shot one turkey myself. My father got one this year, but we did the little turkey nuggets, and man, those are bomb.
Oh yeah, that's how most of the turkeys I shoot, they end up as nuggets.
Hmm
Can't beat them.
I did. We smoked one year, and it just, I don't know, it was stringy. It kind of actually ruined it a little bit for me, and I was a little hesitant to try the turkey bites this year, but it turned me back around. So
I've done smoked in like honey and brown sugar, and it was really good. And then my dad, so he used to have a grocery store, so he had like meat slicer and sliced it up super thin. That turned out really good for like lunch meat.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I've tried doing venison like hindquarters in the smoker. I haven't really
Mhm.
found a recipe yet. I'm like super jacked about yet,
Mhm.
but smoked burgers in the smoker, those turn out awesome.
Venison chili is kind of a classic staple that's good during the colder months, and then I'll make like a brine for like the deer steaks and let it sit overnight or whatever, and they come out
Yeah.
super juicy and flavorful. That's
Yeah.
probably one of my top things.
Yeah, I do a lot like with back straps. I'll let them soak in olive oil, like Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce. Let that soak for like, I mean, it only takes a day, but I actually got some in the fridge right now that have been sitting there for like 3-4 days. So like those on the grill are phenomenal.
So what time should we be over for dinner tonight then?
Yeah.
They probably won't get made till tomorrow. So
We can make it tomorrow
Yeah.
too.
I mean, that's even more time.
I hate to say it, I'm a big grind guy. I just like,
yeah,
I mean, I'll get the back straps or inner loins out, but man, I'm just the type of guys like make my sticks, grind it up, and then we always end up getting quarter cow, or we end up getting half a cow this year. So that is huge. But grind, man, I just meal prep. I can sit there and make a pound of ground venison and almost eat it bare hand. Throw a little thing of butter in there to cook it in, and oh man, dude, I could sit there and about eat it with just spoonfuls of just straight venison. So.
Yeah, I bet we grind like half of our venison, just because between using it for breakfast sausage and just regular burgers, like that. I've found out like when you shoot, like I mean, on an average year, I'll probably shoot 5 to 7 deer. So like, in order to go eat all them in a year, like grinding is the way to go, just because you can burn through so much venison in a lot faster
so
time.
much stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like your
goes back to the
chops and
urban
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your chops and stuff like that's more like special use case versus ground you can use for damn near anything.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, or like a roast. Like I love roast, but if I make one, I'll make a big roast, and then I'm good on one for like a month and a half, 2 months. It's not something I'm gonna eat every single week.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a huge roast guy. I'll make jerky and stuff a lot, but
I want to roast. I'm gonna have a beef roast. I mean, I hate to say it, but you just can't beat a good beef roast. But that's, like I said, that's back to me just being like, when they call me like, what do you need? And I'm like, you're like, you want your cuts? And I'm like, grind it. They're like, what? I'm like, just grind it.
I used to make a lot of jerky, and then like in the process of moving the last couple times, I don't know where my dehydrator went. So it's been probably 3 years since I've dehydrated stuff, but for a while there, like I would do turkey jerky, venison jerky, like especially before like a big hunting trip, I would dehydrate like 10 pounds of venison, and it would be gone by the time you come back home.
I made some jerky with the smoker last season. I don't have a dehydrator set up either, but the smoker did decent.
Did it?
I've heard people do it in the oven too before. I mean,
yeah.
I haven't.
It was good when the smoker had that smoke taste, and it's worth a shot, honestly.
Yeah, I might have to give her a go.
You guys have any bucket list hunts or things on the to-do list or anything exciting upcoming?
I don't really have a bucket list hunt this year. I was like, up until pretty much I moved to Iowa, I was really gung ho about going out west, elk hunting, mule deer hunting, and then once I moved down here in 2021, like all I wanted to do is just hunt big deer. I'm sure I'll get back in that phase of wanting to go back out west. Like I got a lot of points just compiling. Really want to get an elk. When we went out in 2020, I can't remember, was it 2020 or 2019?
I don't remember. Probably 20.
My cousin shot one then. Called it in for him, and that was like just an unbelievable experience. So definitely want to go do it again because it's just something I've always wanted to shoot with a bow.
Yep, me too.
I have I think this year will be like 17 points for Shiras in Wyoming. So like I'm getting close to drawing on that a few years out. And I mean I've been putting in for like your elk, your moose, and pretty much a good majority of the western states just for whenever I do want to hunt it out, be able to hopefully draw a good unit.
For me, it's not like priority, and I don't know when it'll happen, but I'd like to shoot one respectable elk, one respectable moose, and I'd like to shoot a respectable caribou. Whether that happens in the next 5 years or the next 20, who knows? Just something I'd like to do someday. But for now, like, whitetails are king. I much rather hunt whitetails. Like Mike said, we went on an elk hunt a few years ago with his cousin, and those guys, I mean, Mike's cousin was a shooter. I was running a camera. Mike was calling, and I mean, that was an ass kicker of a hunt. I would never go back to the area and hunt the terrain that we hunted because it sucked. I mean, we killed a nice bull on public land, and I don't know, less than 10%, success. So, I mean, we were very fortunate. I feel like there's a little bit of luck on our side, but like, if I go on another elk hunt, I'm gonna save my dollars and go on an outfitted hunt where I can see elk and hear elk and so I'll save my money that I would spending on going 10 years in a row on public land to get your ass kicked and pay for one nice cakewalk of an elk hunt.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it was a very fun hunt. Like, but Brennan said, like, it was an ass kicker. Like, I think it was 8 or 9 days we were out there, and we were going up a couple thousand feet every day. And I felt like I was in fairly good shape going there, but just nothing prepares you for the elevation. And we just got stupid lucky. Like, we went a day and a half without hearing an elk bugle, and we were kind of thinking like, oh fuck, this is not going to be good. And then just happened to get one going and called it in, and then like the rest of the week we got our ass kicked again. I came close the second to last day on killing one, like actually pretty close to where my cousin killed, but it was just like not the elk hunting I was thinking it was going to be. So like I've actually been a little bit nervous to go back, especially that unit. Like it wasn't it's very dense forested unit. There's definitely elk there, but like when we're trying to film our hunts, it was just extremely difficult to like get good quality footage when you can only see and shoot like 15-20 yards most of the time.
Makes sense for sure.
Yeah,
top of my bucket list is elk too. I'm working on Wyoming points, maybe try to do it over the counter Colorado in between now and then gonna go take a stab at a muley this year in South Dakota. And then, I mean, bigger stretches for things. Red stag would be cool. Caribou would be cool. Bear, etc. All on the list for one day.
Mule deer is honestly one of my favorite hunts. Like,
I'm excited to give it a go.
Yeah, there's nothing more like rewarding than shooting an animal spot and stalk, and just like when you do it out in like the Dakotas or any of that like Badlandsy kind of country, like it's just it's so much fun. Like glassing them up, watching them bed, like the whole process. It's a blast. Like I'll almost put that up to whitetail hunting, but yeah,
love whitetail hunting obviously too. I mean we're in Iowa. It'd be a crime not to. What about you, Drew?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping to go here in the next couple of years and try to get a red stag, as long as everything goes right. But someday I'd love to go get a big caribou because my wife's like, we can put that upstairs in the living room. And I have a big buck up in the living room right now, but other than that, everything's usually all downstairs. So, but yeah, big caribou, honestly, in velvet would be a pretty killer. I love the way they look.
Yeah.
That'd be cool for sure.
Yeah.
Ben in chat says, you guys only hunt for trophies / meat, or do you ever bite the bullet and take a doe for better tasting meat? I mean, urban season, knocking down all kinds of
All day.
does.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to fill the freezer, especially with hunting urban now.
I'll take a few does on my property too, but urban especially. If you want a buck tag, you just have to be getting does in urban.
Yeah, I got one permission farm too that it's definitely needs to get some does taken out of it. Hunting it late season, I was seeing 15, 20 deer and maybe $2 bucks, $3 max. So I was hunting a pretty nice deer last year, late muzzleloader. Otherwise, I would have been all about trying to, knock a doe or two out of there. But my goal this year is if I get some sits in there early, just to make it a priority the first doe that comes in range shooting.
For sure. Tell us a little bit about the history of the breaking point. How did you get going and how did you get to here?
I'll let Brennan tell that story.
So Mike and I, we met. We were both going to the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. Both of us were wildlife management majors, and we met in college. And at that time, Mike and I both were already filming our hunts. Nothing serious. A lot of it was us filming our friends more or less, because none of our friends had cameras. None of our friends cared to video. So it really stemmed from, I would say, turkey hunting more than anything, because turkey hunting at that time in Wisconsin, you could only get a tag or two a season. So somebody like Mike or myself that loves turkey hunting, we weren't happy with going out and shooting our 1 or 2 birds and calling it a year. So we would find excuses to go with as many people as we possibly could. So we would round up people, a lot of times people that weren't even big turkey hunters, and be like, hey, buy a tag. We want to more or less go hunting and you can shoot it, So we were kind of doing that. And we started hunting and filming together, must have been sophomore year of college, I think. And we just clicked. It started with turkey hunting, and it kind of evolved into deer hunting and hunting and filming. And then we started traveling to different states, and we're like, man, there's so many better opportunities than hunting in Wisconsin. And so we started hunting out of state, and really enjoyed that. And after college, after we graduated, we both had, pretty decent jobs. Mike worked in a paper mill, and I was working seasonal job for a wildlife agency, and then I would do construction for the other half of the year. And we just weren't happy with what we were doing for careers, and we're like, this filming thing's starting to take up a lot of time, and we're starting to invest money into better equipment. And it was one of those, what we called, and how we came up with the show, we were at our breaking point. We had to make a decision. Are we going to do this filming, or are we going to just set it aside and go back to working our 9-to-5 jobs and just, all of a sudden we're 60 years old and whatever. And we said the hell with it, and we started our media company, and 11 years later, here we are.
That's what we like to hear.
It's awesome.
What do you think was your biggest eye-opener throughout that journey that you realized this can actually work as, a business?
We were, I think it was 2017. We aired on TV for a few years. And because at that time, that's all there was. There was Pursuit Channel, Sportsman's Channel, and Outdoor Channel. That's where everybody watched hunting. And aside from DVDs and stuff. But in 2017 is kind of when the digital shift began. And we were really close to signing a deal with Sportsman's Channel, which was a huge contract. And we weren't sure how we were going to do it. And we were actually on our way back from the ATA show. And we just had this idea of, why the hell are we putting our stuff on TV? Let's let people watch it for free on these digital platforms that are just like just starting. Nobody knew anything about them or how it would go or whatever. And so we threw away that contract for Sportsman's Channel, and we made a commitment to go 100% digital. Our first year, I think we were on like 10 different digital platforms. We just wanted to put our stuff everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of was, in my opinion, the best decision we ever made, because our partnerships and the brands that we work with, our relationships skyrocketed because our numbers were so much better
More
on these digital
impressions.
platforms than they were ever on TV. So I would say that was one of our biggest decisions that we ever made.
Yeah, not only that, but the quality of your viewerships were tenfold compared to your average consumer on television. You might get, if you're lucky, 30 seconds of their attention while they're channel surfing.
Yeah, and then just the person, like how personal you can get on these platforms like YouTube and such. You can respond to comments, questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, since then, we still do air a little bit linear. We got a good relationship with Wild TV up in Canada, so we still air some of our stuff on their linear platform, but also on their digital. But yeah, I mean, the majority of our content right now is on, all of our content's on YouTube, but you can find us. We have our own Roku channel. We air on Waypoint TV. What else? I'm forgetting any other. Vimeo, yeah.
But yeah, when we were on TV, it was like there's guidelines you have to follow, and you're almost handcuffed because they're pretty much, they want you. It's more or less censored. You can't shoot a deer in its bed. You can't show drinking a beer. You can't show cutting up a deer. None of this stuff. And when we went digital, all that stuff went away. And I feel like the people that follow us and have followed us for a lot of years appreciate like our personalities and us just being ourselves in front of the camera. We're not putting on a show or doing something one way just so we can follow these guidelines. We're actually doing everything as if we weren't filming our show.
Yeah, and I don't know how your guys' partnerships or any of that worked, but I know people that have shows and everything, and like you have to buy airtime for a lot of these, and that also kind of marries you even more to sponsorships and kind of branding yourself however these guys want you to. So going independent, I could see being a huge benefit.
For sure.
Absolutely. And like just kind of adding to what Brendan said, one of the nice things from an editing side of things with going digital was like we were able to, if I wanted to make a story, like if I felt like it was worthy of a 30, 40, 50-minute episode, I could do it. Like I wasn't stuck into those time constraints 30-minute show. So like, or if it was, say an episode where I didn't feel like it needed to be that full length, I could shorten it up more and like make it more compact. Like it's just a lot more enjoyable as an editor.
Creative freedom.
When you have that creative freedom of just telling the story how you want it in the time length that you have.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Do you guys have any advice for people just getting into it, trying to self-film or start channels? Or
go ahead, Mike.
I would say like from the editing side of things, like don't overthink things. There's like like when I first started getting into editing, like I thought, I'm like, well, how am I going to do this? I need to go to school for it. I need to have a degree. And actually like Randy Birdsong, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he gave me like some of the most probably best advice I ever had. I asked him that, because I was considering going back to school at the time to get like a associate's degree in editing or something like that. And he's like, I wouldn't even waste your time. Just like go on YouTube and learn how to do it. And I'm like, okay. And that's what I did. I just downloaded the software, found the programs that, did research on it. And I mean, you'll learn the hard way, but, pretty much if you know how it is with YouTube, like any question you have in life, you can look it up on there and there's an answer for
YouTube
it.
Academy.
It's no different from editing. Like if you want to figure out how to do this transition or do this plugin or, you name it, like there's an answer for it. So it just took, years and years of like learning the ins and out of Final Cut. That's what we use is Final Cut. But learning the ins and outs of that, like key commands, like just taking notes on all that and digesting it. And like that's from the editing side is like my biggest advice is like just don't be afraid to just start. You're gonna fail, and your stuff, like it's you look back at the stuff that I've done, like first, second, third year of editing, like you just almost cringe looking at it. Like it's tough to watch, but that's just how it's gonna be when you start. Like you're gonna make mistakes.
It's my big thing too, is stepping back from being like a perfectionist and having to make sure everything's perfect and just realizing that you're gonna grow as you continue. And maybe me putting out a video that has a few things that I'm like out of my control, like maybe the footage just wasn't there or something, and you pieced it together, like that's probably better than just never releasing it because you're being a perfectionist. So just finding that balance.
Yeah, I would say too, like from the editing side of things, I felt like editing made me a way better videographer and photographer.
You know what you're looking for content-wise.
Yeah, like you definitely learn the mistakes you're making filming when you're piecing it together, and what
I didn't do any B-roll.
Yeah, or a time lapse would have been nice here, but I don't have one, or a drone shot, or like it allows you to like learn when you get in the field, like I need to be doing this and that.
Absolutely.
Biggest thing. I mean, you almost hate to say it, but just always have a camera rolling. I mean, GoPro. I mean, your bigger camera. I mean, whatever you got, cell phone. I mean, you can always get rid of film. You can't always come back and get film. So
and from like the one more thing, and then I'll let Brennan go. But like from the video side of things, like video, what I would tell a lot of people getting into it is audio is more important than video itself. Like, if you have bad video, you can hide it, or you can like it's still digestible.
A lot of stuff you can recreate.
Yeah, but if your audio is not good, within 5 to 10 seconds, you've already lost your consumer or their interest. Like they're just not going to tolerate listening to something that sounds bad.
I would say, like, if somebody's looking to get started in this space or in anything to do with video, YouTube channel or whatever, I think just be yourself. Don't try to copy somebody else or, be anything but yourself, because yourself is what makes you different. And that's what people want to see, is kind of, the personality. At least me, that's why I watch the shows I watch, is because I enjoy the personalities in those shows. It's not necessarily because it's the best video in the world or the most high-end video in the world. It's because I enjoy the person or the individuals that are in those videos. And make it relatable, as far as, I guess that's my 2 cents.
Makes sense. In a world full of affiliate programs, what are your thoughts on approaching sponsorships as you grow? Because as we all know, a dime a dozen, you can get an affiliate code. And
I kind of deal with all of our brand partnerships, and it's just one of those things. Like 11 years ago when we started this thing, these companies, I mean, they wouldn't even consider working with us. And it's just one of those things, like, you just have to be persistent with them. You have to, even the ones that give you that cold shoulder and tell you no, you have to, whether it's on a quarterly basis or at the end of the year when you're putting together analytic reports, keep poking them, keep letting them know you're there, keep letting them know that you're not going away. And eventually they crack and they say, all right, well, these people, they're still hanging around. It's been 3 or 4 years now and they're still hanging around, like, and they start paying attention, and you just keep grinding, and eventually it pays off. It kind of goes back to like when we were talking about getting permission, and you can't be afraid to hear the word no, because especially in this space, like starting out, like companies are going to say no, they're going to turn you away, but you can't, like, you got to just keep doing what you're doing and stay persistent with it.
Yep, makes sense.
Pre-affiliate program years, like when we first started out, it was you were sponsored or pro staffed by a company and you got their 20% discount or whatever you called it. And like, that was all fine and dandy when we started out trying, to at least get a name in the industry. And that's partially what you might have to do getting into it. But, at some point, if you want to actually make it a living, you have to cut the cord on those at some point. Like, you're not going to make a living getting discounts, eventually you have to come to these partners and, hopefully they'll be responsive enough to you to consider like partnering on a financial level.
And probably keeping a updated media kit together with, analytics of your reach and all of that. And then,
absolutely.
All right, we're towards the end of the hour, so I want to give you guys the floor. Where can people find you? Anything upcoming, exciting news? Anything that wasn't asked you want to share?
Yeah, like Mike mentioned, all of our content can be found. YouTube's the easiest place to find all of our stuff. Literally every video we've ever created, dating back 11 years now, is on our YouTube channel, organized by playlists. We have a lot going on. We've got our main show, The Breaking Point. New season will be dropping here. Oh, phone's falling over.
Literally dropping.
You heard it here first.
Our new season will be dropping, I believe, in August, right, Mike? Starting in August?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact date off my head, but it's like right around the first week of August, typically.
And I believe there's around 13 or 14 episodes in the new season. We've got our semi-live show. There's a new show every single Monday all year long. Kind of what we're doing right now, what we're doing throughout the year, whether it's, shed hunting, turkey hunting, food plots, you name it, going to 3D archery tournaments, deer hunting, all that stuff, semi-live action. We got our hunting intern show, which last year was the first year of that. We've got 2 new interns that are moving in next week, and they'll have their own show starting this summer or later this summer, I guess, early into fall. And then we do Rut Live, which is our live stream hunting. That'll be back sometime in October, and that is actually where we've got 2 in-studio hosts running the show, while we've got 3 or 4 live units actually in the tree with us, and we're filming our hunts straight to our YouTube channel through our regular cameras. So that's pretty cool too, and that can all be found on our YouTube. And then obviously social media, Facebook, Instagram, you can find us there too.
Perfect.
Yep.
So this was live streamed to, Instagram, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, so on. The video format of this will continue living on in YouTube in the podcast playlist. But after this episode, within a couple days, it'll go into the audio podcast land. So Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it. So if you guys haven't yet, be sure to drop a listen on Spotify, leave a review, all that fun stuff. And with that being said, thank you so much for joining, guys. We'll go ahead and kind of come to an end with this.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.